something. Here we go. Welcome to Catalyst Coaching Hour, July edition. Welcome, everyone. So exciting to see everyone's faces. Some we haven't seen in a while, so it's nice to see you all. So yeah, today we have just an open discussion. We can literally talk about anything. If you have clients that, something's come up with that you want to discuss, something that's going well, something that you struggled through or they're struggling through, or, mentor coaching calls or whatever, honestly, whatever you'd like to talk about today.
And I have just a quick lightweight thing, which I think will start off on that light, easy side. I have one client for the first time who's wanting to schedule her calls when she has something specific she needs. So we don't even schedule our next call. She wants to be in charge. And I've never run into that before. And when I talked to her yesterday, it was because in an hour she had a job interview and she wanted to talk about how to prep like her she not being anxious, having the right persona to go in. She'd done all the prep work on, everything about the job, but she wanted to be in the right mental state to go into the job. So it's just a very interesting and very different kind of call than I've had before.
Huh. Had you coached her before, Susan? Or was
Yes, once, and it was very much personal life,
okay?
relationships with her husband, an awareness that she tends to be volatile in certain situations where she doesn't need to be and how to deal with that. I mean, completely different topics.
Huh.
And this was just our second call.
Huh.
So it's going to be interesting to see what call number 3 is about.
That's kind of cool that she felt the value of like taking the time right before an interview and feeling like that connection would be supportive to her and helpful to her. I think that's a nice compliment to you that she um, really saw you as a resource for that.
Right. Because the first one, it was interesting. It was such a intense topic that I wasn't sure. And I was assuming, of course, we would go back to it. So yeah, you're right. It does mean that we built enough of a relationship that when she had another need, she said, "Oh, I'm going to go do that."
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is why I have so much confidence in all of you coaches whenever I'm talking to our accounts or talking about, like new coaching options, because I know that you all are so good at talking with people about whatever it is that they need. So I'm really glad you brought that up because I do want to share. I'm like, I wish you could be like on my shoulder when I talk to people about you all, because I just have this complete confidence in your ability to coach people, meet them where they're at, listen, and help them move forward. So yay.
That is
You
great.
I do have a question about that too. Susan, you bring up a good point because I had a mentor session this week that like the client in the session brought up like wanting an acute health coach, which sounds like a similar thing of like someone to call when they're needing to work through something, but like stress management or feeling overwhelmed about a job. And it's come up another time too, like in coaching where it's like, can I just give you a call? And it seems different to me than like the scheduled cadence of like a routine of like bi-weekly or talking about a specific kind of topic for a few sessions. And it's just different. So I'm curious like how my first thought was like, how does this line up with like the whole behavior change piece, right? If we're like talking about different topics each session and they're like on our speed dial kind of vibe, which is different. But it seems like it's coming up more often. So yeah, I'm curious like what people's thoughts are on like, is that a health coach, true health coach role? Like my thought initially was like, it feels more of like a mental health or counseling, like acute moment too, depending on the topic. But I see how it could be like valuable if you are like feeling overwhelmed and want to have like specific action steps and strategies before like an interview, for example, like what you brought up, Susan. So, but it's coming up more often. So,
And
yeah.
I'm curious on a couple of things. For one thing, this particular client also has a therapist she's been dealing with on the anger issues. So we are definitely, it's very clear that we're another level than where she's going with her therapist. And maybe that leaves her freer than to come to me about more topical situations because she's dealing with the other one elsewhere. And then I just wonder generationally if we're going to see a different set of requirements, needs, sense of how they feel about what they need, just based on age. Because she's younger than me by a fair amount, you know. And I'm getting some more kind of born in the '80s kind of thing. So they're not babies, but they're not. I don't remember the names of generations, but it's a different generation, and I wonder if their expectations of support are different than some of the older generations.
I actually have, that's a good point to make. A client, he is in his, and he also has a therapist, but he will schedule calls when he needs to make some bigger decisions, like life decisions. He wants to talk it through with me, and then he can talk it through, set some goals through those decisions. And then we won't schedule a call until he's kind of making those decisions again, because there's so much going on right now. That scheduling a call for him, because he already has a therapist, that he would rather talk through some of those decision-making things and to share with me his wins from making those decisions. So it's worked well for this particular client. So I love both of it.
And Mary,
I
do you reach out to them to like, or is it the onus is on them to reach out to you? How is that?
Well,
working
we've
for
been
you?
working together for quite some time, and
Okay.
he has gained some trust in me. So he reaches, like, if I haven't heard from him in a while, I don't go through a list and be like, oh, I haven't talked to you. It's just, I might send in a check-in email, but he generally, he's on his, because he values our relationship, but also more so he values our conversations.
Mm.
But
And it sounds like it's similar with Susan too, that the onus is on the client. They will reach out when they feel, and they feel valued, like Sabrina said, they feel really value the value of the time with you. So they will reach out, they will think of you when they're having a job interview or something like
that's
that.
the epitome of what we do, right?
Yeah.
Is on them for their behavior change, but also to process through. And coaching is just very, very diverse right now.
yeah,
And
Lee,
I'm wondering,
I wanted
go
to talk
ahead.
to, yeah, I kind of wanted to say, Lee, it's so funny that you're kind of comparing like the coaching in your mind is like a program, right? And I think more and more, I think of coaching as meeting that client where they are when in the moment and like on whatever they need. And I feel like when they get to look at us in a more broad manner, like, oh my gosh, my coach can help me not just with my diabetes management condition, but my coach can help me with all these other things, how to process, how to move forward in all those different ways. I think it's huge. And I do think that the updated content outline like reflects that with their addition of things like relationships and communication and kind of all the things that got added. I think that we are looking at coaching more broadly, like what does that person need in the moment, and we are behavior change experts. We help them process.
I hear Lee asking about the on-demand aspect of it more than the breadth of it. Is that right, Lee?
Yeah, like it
Yeah.
felt like I don't think I've ever been in a scenario where someone wants like an on-demand health coach, and I've heard it like 3 times in the past 2 weeks, and I'm like,
Okay.
Wow.
oh, this is an
I'm
interesting
wondering,
boundary.
like,
Like to do that. Yeah.
does anybody know about like how some of these app coaching, like coaching apps are set up, or like BetterHelp, like, because I'm wondering if it's kind of like that, right? Like, hey, I'm in a bit of not like I'm, like emergency, but hey, I'm in a bind. I need to talk to somebody. Like, you got somebody in the next hour. Or like, yeah, does anyone know kind of the major players in that. And I'm wondering if that's the perception that people are getting about coaching. Is that kind of a thing, like, oh man, I'm about to hit up this interview, or I'm about to have this conversation with my boyfriend or whatever. And like they can just kind of like message their coach and be like, hey, you available to talk right now? But I don't know enough about that. I was wondering if that could be a factor at all. But just a thought.
I
And
think it's a
I'd
result
like to
of
tie into
technology.
Brian's, like one of my questions was from Susanna's point of view and a business point of view, and what you're selling to companies when they're offering this in relation to a company. All of this comes in because Brian's talking almost like, even if you get to AI coaches, which are available anytime you want to hook into them, like what is happening business wise to the field, and are we, what are we becoming, and what's going to be appropriate. So I think that connects to what you were saying, Brian. I hope.
I think it's a result of just technology makes things happen so much faster. I think people's expectations are, hey, I need something. I want it now. And can I get it now? And, of course, like with our coaching, I still think it's pretty good. They can probably get to you within 48 hours, right? Theoretically. But I think it's like, yeah, move with the times. No, not on demand. Don't text me and say you need. I do have one private client who does this to me, who texts me and is like, can you talk in like the next 2 hours? Like, oh my goodness. But if I can, I do, because that's him. But I think what we're seeing is just the fact that, hey, if I have a question and I can't contact any of you all, I'll just go type it into ChatGPT and see what ChatGPT says. Just for, what does ChatGPT say?
Yeah.
What do you guys think of that? Just because of that.
Interesting. Yeah.
I'm just curious about it. Like I have two ideas. One is like this on demand. I'm like, okay, the self-efficacy component, like how does that tie in if we have like an acute real-time connection to like a coach, right? And like their ability to, or like we then like a resource, or is there an opportunity to like when you have a visit with them to talk about resources where like they acutely in the moment are able to connect? Like where's the parameter of like this on-demand kind of thing and the human component and a boundary? Like that's what I was thinking about when it came up as I was like listening as the mentor, and then also it came up as a client asked about it, and I was like, it's an interesting question of like, do I want to be an on-demand health coach? Like maybe not.
I'm a little confused, Lee. What did they mean by an on-demand coach? Especially in the mentor situation.
Yeah, I think it was more so like life has been lifing for lots of people, and like things come up and they feel like they're getting completely off the rails, and like when something happens, they want the support of someone to help them feel like they're in control of like getting back on track instead of having
so then they would like text you, or how would that's it is fascinating, huh?
It's interesting.
Kind of come across that yet.
Okay, so this is kind of fun because years and years and years ago, before I ever went to see a counselor or therapist or whatever, I was like, I just don't love this idea that I have to pay for a friend. And this is exactly what's happening. Like, people don't have friends that have skills to be friends, and so they need to hire a professional to talk to them and learn to listen. Like, this is exactly, I think, what's happening is like, I didn't have friends at the time that had the skills that I needed to be like, so I needed to go to somebody who knew how to help me. And so I think there's some of that going on. Honestly, I think people just don't have friends that can listen and process things. And so where you would normally just call a buddy or call a girlfriend to process something, now it's like, no, I need my therapist or I need my coach, and I need them now. So I wonder if some of that is going on too. It's just like people don't have friends like they used to. They don't have community like they used to, and so now they got the professionalized version. But that's what I was laughing about is just this idea of a professional friend, essentially. But
Brian,
and it's like an extension. And it's like an extension.
What's that, Lee?
What we used to offer was, how often do you need to talk? Do you want to talk in a week? Do you want to talk in a month? Do you want to talk in a quarter? So you get to choose this thing. Well, this takes it to another whole level of, do I get to feel like I should be able to contact you whenever I feel like I need to do that? And on the receiving end as a coach, that's a tough one because you have a life too.
Caitlin, I saw your thing you put in the chat. Do you want to share what you were talking about there?
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of related to maybe this idea that people want to just like call in and be able to talk to a coach whenever, suits them, whenever they need that extra support. So at the Quit Line through National Jewish Health, like they have a 1-800 number that anyone can call, and they get, like, it's not a designated coach, it's who's ever available, and it's open 24/7. So even like 3 a.m. At odd times. And then it's basically a shared relationship between all the coaches. So it's kind of that on-demand aspect. And they can schedule, like they schedule the next call usually like a week apart. But then the thing is that the coaches tell them you can call whenever you want. We're open 24/7. Here's the number. You don't have to wait till your scheduled time. I know there's other places like this. I know Share Care is the name of one company that also had that kind of setup. I don't know if it was 24/7, but just being like that on-demand kind of coaching piece. So I was thinking, it kind of relates to what we're saying, is maybe that is the type of coaching that some people have been exposed to, and not having the same coach every single time.
That's a great example, Caitlin.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
It is interesting. Are you finding, Susan and Mary, that your clients are asking for you like today? Or are they saying, or like Susan, in your example, did your person say, I have a job interview coming up on Monday. Can we talk on Monday morning? But that was like the week before. Like how on demand,
Right.
you know what I mean?
She went-
What are people
yeah.
asking for right now?
She went to my calendar and found a date that worked for her.
Okay.
And then that because what she did, we had the first meeting, we scheduled the next meeting, she didn't show up for it. And so then I didn't know what was going to happen. And then she shows up again, but she chose a time that happened to work for her. And then it's going to be interesting this next time around. What I said to her was, if there's nothing on my calendar that works for you, let me know and we'll see if we can work something out. But yeah, I just haven't had the situation requiring that flexibility. And then back to the self-efficacy side of things, when they're choosing a week, a month, a quarter, to me that sort of is my question to them as they decide what to choose, is what's the time frame? We've come up with some goals. What's the time frame you need to work on these before it's going to be time to talk to somebody about it again? So here's your testing time to see if what you're working on, and do you think that can happen in a week? Do you think that takes a month? Do you think that takes a quarter? So that kind of hands it back to them, that it isn't just when you're talking to me that you're working on stuff. But yeah, this is just a different take on it than I've run into. Let's hear from Mary too.
Yeah, in this particular situation, this gentleman actually had a crisis where he did text me in the morning to talk that day, but it was a true crisis. So I had to have a conversation with Susan. But he, because of our relationship, and he does trust me, he will text me to see, here I'm available at these times, instead of him having to go on to my calendar because he's on his phone. It's like he's not in the office. And so even some of my other clients is like, hey, here's the times I'm available. What, they kind of compare because they don't want to log in or they can't or whatever it is. That's kind of rare. But for him, he is a special person, and I don't have many like that. But I love what Sabrina was saying, is meeting where our clients are at the time, and hopefully, we're working with them to teach them how to grow, to teach them to reflect where they've been, but also how do you move forward. And those skills that they're talking through and we're working with, this particular person is like fabulous. And so it's just a process. So he's grown a ton from the years that I've been.
Yeah. So it sounds like you really did meet him as he needed and as what worked with your schedule, and the self-efficacy piece wasn't necessarily diminished, right? Like, because it sounds like he's a pretty independent person.
Yeah, but there were clear boundaries drawn. Sorry about my background. I drew some pretty good boundaries where I'm not at your beck and call. And so there's that too, because I'm not going to be that person for him. So we had some hard conversations about him also creating boundaries, because that was one of his challenges, is that he didn't have any. And so by me creating boundaries, by me calling, even in our conversations, I'm like, okay, pause, let's back up. And he's like, oh yeah, that's right, Mary, that's right. I got to stop talking. Like he just, you know, it's just all of that retraining of his brain. And so it's been really cool to see that transformation. I don't want all clients like that, but it's a special gift of what we can offer to our clients. You know, this job is just like the best job in the planet.
It is a nice differentiator, right? More than those on-demand app type things, right? Like this is what Catalyst coaching can offer. If within certain boundaries, and to Lee's point, just holding that self-efficacy piece as in a high regard, right? Like that you can do this, right? Like, so yeah, I'd love to hear thoughts in terms of how much we could do of this, right? Like we wouldn't want all of our clients to just be texting us at the last minute, right? And that's just not feasible. But then I would say a lot of people would like to have, some people are like, oh yes, I'd like to have my coaching call scheduled in advance and know when it is. And like, there is a personality for that. And then there's a different personality who's like, okay, I'm just going to call you when I need you. And, you know, where's the balance? Any thoughts on that?
I think it's interesting what Brian was saying, what the big companies that are advertising on radio and TV and all of that are doing, just because that is what the mass population is hearing. And, you know, it's a strategic decision for CC360 as to where you want to position yourself, whether you want to like jump on the bandwagon with everyone else, or if you want to differentiate yourself. And the question is, you know, sort of what are people today expecting? And I think Sue's question about generationally is an interesting one. I think, you know, with the AI is an interesting one, and how everyone is getting information so quickly. Because Sabrina, when someone contacted you and said they had, you know, wanted to set something up immediately, and you said 48 hours, I actually kind of was like, 48 hours? Like, that's a long time, you know, in my brain. That's a long time. And to you, it seemed like that's pretty reasonable to offer that to someone. So, you know, there's a lot of things to sort of weigh in this discussion.
Well, I'm not 911. No, just kidding. Just kidding.
I think one of the things that has been really exciting just of recently is the self-pay option, because it really does allow people, and I haven't had anybody actually sign up for it yet, but I like that they can take control of that and, you know, be able to tap into more coaching if they want it. So that's really neat. And then the other thing I was going to say is that it seems like with all the new concern companies coming on, it seems like I am finding so like these people are valuing their coaching so much. They are showing up for the calls. A lot of times I try and text and say, it's Susie, your coach. I'll be calling you from this number. And they are just on it. Like, yes, I'm there. And, you know, just really excited about embracing the opportunity to get to work with a coach. So I don't know what happened in those companies. You know, I see like I'll have a couple clients from just different random companies, most of them California. But a lot of times they say, yeah, I was in a meeting and they really, you know, recommended that we do the coaching. So that's exciting, really nice.
Promoting it quite a bit. I want to go back to the 48 hours. Just to also know is that Sabrina and I are like, all of our companies have our numbers. So say like Concern, a client is looking for a coach today. They just reach out to me or Sabrina and we will make it happen. So it's not like they have to wait. So if it is imperative that they'd like to talk to somebody, absolutely we are available. And it doesn't happen a lot. But we are available for the client if they do wish to have the coach sooner than 48 hours. Just kind of clarify that.
Well, and I can speak sort of from the business design side of what we offer. So the 48-hour has been our policy to have that on the calendar so that they can't just pop up. You don't just wake up in the morning and you have this whole schedule that's different than what you thought. So our reasoning behind that was really for us as coaches, of really valuing kind of the work-life balance for you to have, for us to have, and our desire to have a bigger team with a variety of voices and personalities and expertise that you're bringing who are working as independent contractors as opposed to a few people that might be working kind of full time, and maybe more of that call in. I don't know that we'd ever do 24 hours, but we could do a few people that are working 8 hours a day and we're open from this to this, and it's whoever answers the phone. And so there could be that immediate. We just have felt I don't just for the quality of the coaching team, we want people that are living their values and that type of thing. But it is a judgment, right? It is it's something we've wondered, and I'm liking how it is from our team perspective. I think is good. It would be helpful for people to continue to bring if there is ever pushback on that 48-hour thing. Now that is to get on the calendar, right? And so particularly for a new client, once they're connected to you, I think sometimes they do, as you've all alluded to, they have your phone number, right? So they can text you directly. So it wouldn't have to be that. That's like you setting your boundary as a coach, right? Of if you're available quicker, if it's okay for them to text you. Like these are all things that you're determining with your clients and in charge of your own schedule with that. So they might be getting on quicker if you're up for that, and that's how you operate with your clients. But so for now, the 48 hours is what we have. That could be up for discussion if we find that, things are changing and like the generations. And I mean, it's good thoughts of if, maybe a 24-hour is better or a 36-hour, something a little different. So all the feedback is always good if we ever need to change our model. But that's sort of the reasoning behind where that came up with, and why we do that. So I don't know if anybody has thoughts on that reasoning or kind of how it's set up.
48 hours was to protect. It was completely to protect coaches' time.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
absolutely.
why that exists, and it's one of those policies you make it as a global decision. But we have had circumstances where I remember a Mines situation where Bob Mines was calling and saying somebody needed to be coached like in the next 24 hours. And guess what? We did. So
I think we've always met deadlines for incentives. Like if people are registering late and the deadline's tomorrow, I remember like sending out many SOS notes to the team. Like, we have these people that need to be coached by tomorrow. And you all were like, I got them, we're on it. So I think we've always done a really good job of that.
Yeah, those were fun times, weren't they?
Yeah, they were
I
fun
forgot
times.
about all those times.
Moving and grooving, yeah.
That's right. This team is very good at SOS
They are
911, by the way.
very good.
So how do people feel about that 48-hour sort of gap?
I
At least
like
for
it. I like to have that.
Me
I
too.
like to know what I'm expecting. And actually what I've run into more recently is, and it's also concerns, so it's kind of the opposite of what Susie's finding. Mine just disappear periodically. And I would love to get the notice they've disappeared.
Right.
Because when I'll find out that they've disappeared is when I have them on I have 2 calendars I'm running. I've got them on the other calendar and all of a sudden they're not there. And of course, I don't even remember, it's not recurring ones, it's new ones. So I don't even know who disappeared. But it would be nice to get the notice that we get it all when they sign up. I'd love to hear when they go away.
I've mentioned that. Sabrina, does that sound familiar?
Yeah. Yeah. Does it? Yes, it does sound
I have
familiar.
mentioned that so many times because I get so confused. Don't you get confused? I mean, it's like, did I do something wrong?
Right.
Did I cancel them or did I not put them on the calendar? It gets confusing.
To
So
be
Am I the
fair,
crazy
that
one,
does
or are
has
they-
happened to me too. Yeah.
yeah, we need to know when they cancel.
Yes, the system has never accommodated clients removing themselves
Yeah, we
Yeah.
need to.
from the
Yeah.
calendar.
Yeah.
then that could spark a follow-up, like, hey, noticed you, whatever, you
Right. Do you need
Right.
to
make it,
reschedule?
would you like to reschedule, that type of thing, just a nice follow-up, and they could be like, yeah, I couldn't make it this time, but I don't see a good time for next,
Right.
just a logistical thing, and you
I
can.
like to make your brains hurt. No, just kidding.
Don't.
I'm just kidding.
My brain already hurts.
But then
I'm
the other
keeping you on your
thing-
toes, Cindy Day.
No, it's confusing. I'm like, but I don't want to screw up.
No, I
That's the thing.
I
Right.
know.
Right.
And then there's a
Oh.
gap in the schedule too, when someone cancels their appointment, and then all of a sudden
You see
have a
that
gap
it
where
shows
you're-
back up. Like that's
No,
what
it
we did
doesn't.
is
It
that
just
it
disappears.
shows open again.
Right.
No, it
and
doesn't.
it shows
No.
differently. It just shows the
Mm-mm.
time open. So it doesn't say
Yes.
coach available. It says
Right.
blank.
right. So
Yeah.
if someone
Mine doesn't
else
show up
can't
as
look
time
that-
available. Mine just disappears. Like
Oh,
the times I'm
right.
available shrink by that.
Now,
Yes,
how does
appointment.
that happen?
I don't know.
Because it
cancel
would have
it, and then
to,
it just goes blank.
Right.
Right?
It's
it
just
shows
not
up for
showing up
me.
as
It
available.
can't do it for just one person.
No, right.
It would have to do it globally.
One
Yeah.
would think, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we can
Great.
revisit, like Sabrina, if you want to jot that down as a revisit to brainstorm, is there anything else we can do? I know we've talked about it before, and I feel like there's reasons for this, reasons we haven't changed it.
It gives us
but
brain damage.
we do not want to be doing harm to our coaching team. So anyway, we can try to revisit, see if there's anything else tech-wise that can be done as some sort of a notice, or I don't know.
The idea
I
would
don't
be
know.
that they get a notification that the client has canceled the appointment, right?
Just
Mhm.
getting a notification is
Just a
probably the
notification would be-
easiest fix,
Mhm.
I think, right? Just
Mhm.
getting an
Mhm.
email saying so and so
Canceled.
canceled from this date, this time.
That would be great.
Mhm.
Yes.
And then we can coach Cindy's brain damage here by
Right.
saying you have the
I
choice
need less
to
brain damage.
either just
Yes.
celebrate and say, oh, good, I have an hour I didn't think I had, and I can go do blah, 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 or I can go,
Exactly.
what happened here?
Instead of me looking back through all the
Right, going,
what happened? Because I always have to figure it out. That's when
Yeah.
the brain damage happens.
It's not you,
It is
Cindy,
brain
it's them. It's not you,
Right.
it's the client.
Thank you.
I think we are very appreciative of the 48-hour rule
Yes.
and
Yeah.
or the guideline, and can ebb and flow if one of you get contacted from a company and there's an SOS. Yes, we can all
Yeah.
jump in. So I guess the next question is, I mean, I will reach out by text to a new client, and so then we have that ability to exchange text. Does anyone not do that? Because my question will be, how do we feel about, hey, can we have an appointment tomorrow kind of text from a client?
And
And I don't text
one
anybody.
other thought to throw in here. like Yvette, I think you use Google Voice. You're one of them that does that. That would be another one to throw in there, which is a little different than kind of your personal cell phone, but can still come where you get the alert. So that might be another bit of information to throw out into the conversation as well. Because I actually really, I think it's super smart, what I'm hearing, like Susie, what you were saying before the call, sending a text saying, "This is your coach, Susie. I'm going to be calling," just so they know, because so many people don't answer the phone if they don't know the number. And so that's just a quick little, "Oh, good, this is who you are. I'll put you in my phone." I think it just helps that they're going to answer the phone. Is nice. But Yvette, since I called you out for Google Voice, any thoughts on use of that?
Yeah, I really like it. I don't know how, I mean, I know for my business, like I have a business email through Gmail, so I can use the Google Voice number as a part of that. So I don't know how it works for people who don't have that. And maybe you can just get an account or something, but I love it. And you can have the app on your phone, and it also shows up in my email. Like if somebody sends me a text, I can tell that they were trying to reach out to me, but it doesn't bother me on my cell phone. So I really like not having to, but I can use the Google Voice app from my cell phone, to respond to a message if I want to, but I like having that separation because I don't want people to have my cell phone number.
Yeah, I
And
also
the-
like with Google Voice how because I'm not a big texter on my phone. Like I tend to be pretty short with my I don't have very long-winded answers, but I like with Google Voice coming up on the computer where I can actually type it in.
Yeah.
It feels easier to
It
do.
works well for me. And I use it on my computer mostly from home, to do my calls. I just have a much better connection. I can't use my cell phone from my house because we just have a really spotty connection anyway. So the Google Voice works really well for that.
Yeah.
And there's
Yeah,
the free version that I use, and I
Mhm.
don't have an account. So
Okay.
I've used it since the beginning, and I haven't had any trouble with it. I think a
Yeah.
lot of us set it up for the Canadian Minds
Mhm.
clients, right? So yeah. So then the question is, how do we feel about our boundaries and the timing and texting to get a last minute coaching session? Do we just do that like personally? We just choose our own boundaries? What are the thoughts?
I would prefer that. I know I'm not one who wants to hear I need in the next hour to talk to somebody most of the time. There would be times when I'm hanging around and I have that time, but there will be a lot of times where I'm not. And so that would be hard for me to implement that kind of responsiveness.
I think I am a person that I absolutely adore working from home. And part of the flexibility that I enjoy is I like I don't feel like that happens to me very often, but if it works in my schedule, I'm like, that's totally fine. Like, I don't know. I know that we've had this conversation, a little bit of this conversation before, and I think I do err on the side of being a overly flexible person sometimes with these things, and I'm not sure what that really says about me. But I don't know. I would rather talk to somebody when they are in a space that is going to work for them. I feel like because I do personally have that quite a bit of flexibility usually on my schedule, it works out for me. I don't know. I'm not sure what that really says about me, but I'm just that type of person, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all different. I think we all have different, just like our clients, we have all different lives and personalities.
And definitely if it got into a situation where somebody was doing it constantly and it felt disrespectful, then by all means, like, no, I wouldn't do that. But if, especially in the summertime, I run into it where somebody's like, oh my gosh, like something came up, or I'm so sorry. I can't talk this afternoon. Are you free tomorrow or the next day? And just like, sure, that's okay.
And I've even done that on my calendar where they'll give me a text that morning saying something's come up, they can't do it. Am I available in a day or two? And I'll, usually I'm open and I can go back and say, yeah, that will work. But it's all done basically on my calendar rather than by text.
Yeah, it's probably personal style, a lot of it.
And it depends on how busy we are, right? Like right now, if we have a little extra time and they want to talk tomorrow, they can't schedule that online because of the parameters. Great, we can make that work. I know it was frustrating when the Dollar General clients would cancel and need to reschedule for the next day, or because we had the deadlines and whatnot, but then our calendars were completely full, and trying to fit them in was it was just a different situation. Whereas now it seems like if we have flexibility, then we can be flexible. And if not, then we can't. So I want to make sure we get to Robin's question as well, about Catalyst Edge. So anything further on the boundaries discussion before we move on to Catalyst Edge? All right, let's do it. What's your question, Robin?
I just want to know more about it and kind of timeline and, is there an idea of, like how many participants or ages of these participants? Or yeah, I'm just kind of curious how it came about and when we think we might be seeing some of that, or is it just limited to certain coaches? Yeah,
let's chat about it. It came about because Brad and I met and we were talking about gaps or opportunities. And I have been coaching this age group for quite a while privately. And of course, Yvette has been coaching this age group and made the webinar. And just seeing a real need lately because of AI impacting college grads, and also technology and social media impacting this age group's communication skills. So it's always kind of been a challenging time, I think, for people, the ages of, I don't know, 18 to 30. And I think in this day and age, it is even more challenging with those things, with AI and with technology. So we've talked with both minds, like um, our contacts, and concern, and they are both highly, highly interested in it. We've given them the flyers. We just, as we're on this call, Priya from Concern is emailing Mary and I saying, "Oh my gosh, our team loves this idea, loves, loves, loves it. We're trying to figure out what to do, whether to do a separate flyer or, to separate it out." So it's all kind of in the works. Like, what are we going to do next with it? And same thing with Minds. Minds is the same way. They're trying to figure out like how to market it. Should it be something separate like Catalyst Elite? So we're in kind of the beginning stages, but I wanted you to be aware of the fact that you all can coach these individuals and probably have been coaching these individuals. So I wanted to make sure you felt comfortable with any clients that you might see coming through the EAP right now. And that's why I created that, the information to share with you all, the tips, the coaching tips, and resources. So that's kind of where we are right now, hot off the press in this moment. So what I want to hear from you is kind of like, have you been coaching this population? What do you feel are possibly any coaching gaps? ... Just getting your thoughts.
Sabrina, just clarifying here really quick. I think this is amazing. And with this new influx of like the concerned companies, I'm seeing more. I do have some clients that are in that kind of, it reminds me of talking to my kids actually, because they're all in that age. It's like,
yes,
oh my gosh, you sound just like my daughter.
Yeah.
I don't say that, but anyway, what I was going to say is, are they going to come across as Catalyst Edge, or are they
Not
How
yet.
are we going to know?
Yeah,
Okay.
not yet. Not yet.
Okay,
Maybe
so
in the
they're
maybe
in
in
the
the future.
future they could be, this would be like a different program and they will come across that way.
It could be, but right now they are not. So it's just, I had meant to put down and maybe I should send you guys an updated document. I meant to put down like the year of birth that would like target this is 1995 to 2007. So I might send out an updated version of the document I sent to you guys because other things that I forgot to mention is with this population, you might need to define coaching because they're kind of confused. They just want help. They just want help. So you might have to define coaching for them, and you might have to have a conversation about healthy. What is healthy look like to you? And one other thing I wanted to say is you might want to help clients challenge their sources of information. Because who was I talking about this with? I literally was talking with somebody. I said, well, this person was saying, oh, I got my information from TikTok. And I was like, well, why don't you ask GPT how reliable is information from TikTok? And so I did that. I asked the question to ChatGPT about TikTok, and ChatGPT was, well, not very reliable, dot, dot, dot. So it's kind of like learning how to help these people in this age group, knowing the kind of things that they're going to for their information and kind of helping them maybe question it, challenge it, dot, dot, dot. So I forgot to put those 3 items on our little document. But yes, you are going to be seeing these people because Concern is really marketing coaching, and this age group is really into accessing resources. They want help. So,
Are we seeing a certain area of what they're coming for? Or are they coming from all kinds of different concerns and issues? Are they, yeah, what does that picture start to look like something in particular yet, or is it very individualized?
I mean, for me, it's been very individualized. It's been a lot about, for me, I feel like they're a very anxious group. That's what I have found. And so it's a lot of times that. A lot of times it's like basic communication, like not really feeling like they have community or don't know how to communicate well with others. That's another thing. Very afraid to communicate synchronously. So face to face or on the phone. Like I'm like, what? Okay. Yeah. Afraid to call, afraid to ask, like afraid to do things like that. Ask things synchronously. Yes, Caitlin, it does remind me of the Anxious Generation book. But when I coach this population, those are the topics. Really afraid to talk to each other face to face. And so get anxious about that.
Right. Yeah, the anxiety side I've seen not so much in my clients, but in some of the kids I know in this generation. I call them kids, but they're that young adult thing.
Yeah,
they seem very vulnerable. Yeah,
they are. And the thing is that's why, we did the coach trainings, our huddle trainings on those topics. That's why those resources I gave you guys they're just really relevant because I had this population in mind a lot of times when I created that. So I was thinking that possibly for the October huddle, I would just kind of do a refresh training on this age group. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
Well, I'm going to add real fast, just for what you were saying too. Like we have wondered about, our style has always been phone calls with our coaching. It is always a question of, is that still the best way to reach people? Right now, that's what we're sticking with. But what you're saying about this is exactly right. A lot of the younger generation do not like an actual phone call. Like that feels weird. So just to reiterate what we were mentioning about perhaps even a quick text before you call, like that in itself is for a younger person, I think is just a reassuring connection, just real quick. This is Susanna. I'm your coach. I'm going to be calling you at this time. Then I think it just makes it not like answering the phone to some random number or something like that, where they may be there, they just don't answer. So just to mention that, I think that could be just a nice little baby step to a connection.
I like that.
That's
I
great.
like that a lot.
And
Yeah.
then going the other direction, I wonder if we would go to, for this group, after we've worked with them for a while, it seems like one of the great things would be to move them into group sessions where they're in a room with each other and actually connecting, not just with their
It's a
coach.
great idea.
That's
Yeah,
a good
that
idea.
would be a progression that you would work toward.
That would put them out of their comfort zone.
Yeah,
Right.
but exactly in the area that makes them anxious.
But they're all in that same boat. So
Or emerging
yeah.
coming out of the cocoon.
Mhm.
Sabrina, I will say I've been working with college students for like 2 years now, and I would say that a lot of it is routine based. Like there's stress
Mhm.
management about like building a routine. If
Mhm. That's
they're
true.
they've come from either being at home and like since I work with this college students, they're at a university and they have ownership. Like they should show up to class. They're not required to show up for class, right? So it's like building this whole routine and then like the transition from that to like graduate school or thinking about being an adult. Like I had a session with a 24-year-old today, and it's like I'm in like the real world, and it's like the real world. And so we just talked about like establishing like a sense of groundedness and routine and good habits because it's important for them and their longevity. Like they want to be successful and they're anxious about how to take ownership over that. So I'd say that's the biggest piece that I've seen.
That
I
needs
would
to be.
agree completely. And I think like even like as they leave, you know, once they're moving into jobs, if they've left college or whatever, that's one of the biggest things. Because when you think about it, you know, developmentally, they were in school, you know, with a very structured routine for 18 years. And then maybe if they went off to college or to trade school or whatever, they had a routine built around that. And then, you know, they're once they've moved on into that next, that's the biggest thing I see is just really reestablishing some routines to support them and in those various areas of wellness. So yeah, I see that. I would see that as the biggest thing that comes up with the people I work with.
And then from my personal experience, the piece of it that it's also building a savviness about the world, because mine in that 26 to 28-year-old, they got used by corporate world. They got overused and went to panic attack. So because they were trained to go out and be incredibly capable and incredibly efficient, and then the business just kept piling on, piling on, piling on. They ended up, in one case, doing 3 jobs, didn't know they were doing 3 jobs. And then they feel betrayed. And they sometimes get so angry that they don't want to go back to the corporate world, and yet they're searching for what else. So there's a way they also have to be able to assess. They can't be just the good, happy little kid anymore. They have to be an adult to evaluate what they're walking into and how it really works. And that's a tough transition.
They go through a lot during that 20 to 30 decade for sure. Just keeping an eye on the time as we wrap up. I know Sabrina was asking about content and what would be helpful to cover at the huddle. And then Yvette, you've done a webinar, correct? And so I kind of wanted to bring those 2 resources up in terms of how we can best serve this population.
That Mel Robbins podcast was really good. Feeling lost in your 20s, you need to hear this. That episode. I listed that on the document. That was a really good one just to help you understand what they're feeling, what they're thinking and feeling. I felt like
The great scattering.
the great scattering, yes.
Yeah.
So as coaches, would you suggest that we check out the webinar before the huddle if we can?
Oh, well, first of all, it's not this coming huddle because this upcoming huddle, we're doing the updated content outline. So what I can do, I'll just see. I'll see if I come up with maybe a few slides or something beforehand, before the act November. Is it November would be this discussion, right, Susanna?
And maybe
Yeah.
even some links to some of the podcasts and stuff.
I did not send, I sent this to you, right?
Okay.
The one
Okay.
doc. I'll resend it though. How about I resend it with the kind of updated with the things we talked about today?
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd
But
be
I think,
good.
okay.
Yeah, and I think like for the fall huddle, we're still trying to figure out like what is our best topic and what are we wanting to do. So I think getting feedback from you all is great. And we'll see kind of this age group if we are picking up with the coaching sessions and that type of thing, but just continuing kind of to let me know, let Sabrina know, content for huddles is super helpful.
What are can you just say the dates of the
Yeah.
fall huddle one more time?
Yes. So our upcoming huddle is August 14th. And then, let me see.
November 13th.
Thank you.
I high five myself for putting it on the calendar.
Good job. It's on my calendar. It just took me a minute to keep turning pages.
Excellent.
Great meeting with you all.
Yes, great meeting everyone. Really
Yay.
robust. It was so good to see
I
some
know,
faces
it's so
we
good to
haven't seen in a
see you
while.
Nice to see
guys.
you.
Wait, book club is this month. Wait, when
Yes.
is it? When's book club? Is that me?
It's in July. It's coming up.
It's
soon.
coming up.
Next week
It's
Next week, I think.
or 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
July 23rd.
23rd.
Wednesday, July 23rd, 4 o'clock. Even if you haven't read the Let Them book, if you've listened to Mel Robbins' podcast on Let Them episode, you could probably still, actively engage in the conversation.
Can you repeat that time again? The date and
It's,
time?
yeah, it's Wednesday, July 23rd at 4 o'clock. And it's on Mel Robbins' Let Them theory is the topic.
And our library has 2 Your Lucky Day copies, so you can go to the Roxborough Library and actually get it.
So good. So good. Thank you, everyone.
Yay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.